Ready for a haircut. I am ready for a haircut. Oh, you got skinned there a little bit.
Huh?
Yeah, not bad.
Wow, Andrew did it.
Well, hey, she did good.
I bought a set of clippers a few years ago. I use them.
I brought me a pencil.
Cut almost every bit of my face off too. It was bad. I haven't shaved in a couple months. It looked awful. And she was like, good grief. All right, all right.
You don't want to see that. I'd say we're gonna need to do a budget workshop Monday and Tuesday, sir.
Is that bad?
Bad. Well, there is a good news. I mean, there is some good news that we're, that it's not as bad as what it could be.
Bad enough.
All right, 6:30. I did get all five of them board members, all five board members to, in regard to the Thursday night meeting at 5 o'clock.
Everybody agreed to it?
Yeah, Nathan was the last one, but I think I finally told him, he thought it was doing tonight at 5. No, I had to correct him on some things, but we got it done. Good. We talked to Greg Mitchell in regard to those budget amendments. These are routine. I mean, we need to get out, we get out of Dodge by, if I get out of Dodge by 5:45 would be good.
Well, I guess a lot of that depends on you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman. Oh, Travis is going to be a few minutes late. He is zooming in. I'm gonna text Brian just to reminder.
There's Courtney, Audrey, Lisa. Don't have anybody else. We do not have a quorum yet.
Reminder of the workshop right now. We'll send it to everybody. How's that?
No, it's fine.
I'll send it to Brian. He'll get 2.
Yeah, to wake him up.
He ain't asleep. There's no doubt about that. If he's doing his moving deal. I'm sure he's packing.
I got it.
I sent it to Mr. Mahaffey too. There's Marcia.
Mr. Mahaffey, he wanting to participate?
I think he wanted to monitor.
Hey, Mr. Curtis.
Hey, Mr. Nichols, you having a better?
How are you?
Are you having a better night than you did about this time last night?
Listen, it's all good. When you're on the green side of the onion, it's all good.
Understand that. I'd like to have some green onions and some. My doctor probably wouldn't like me to have the grease that went on top of them, but
Hey, a quick question before you get started here is the I didn't see it on the board agenda concerning the graduation requirements. Is it on there?
It's in the resolution. It's in the resolution, sir.
Okay, I just didn't see it on there, so I just wanted to make sure that.
It's in that blanket resolution on the graduation requirements. So.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I get you a copy of that resolution as soon as this meeting is over with. I'll send you.
That's fine. I know what it says. I just didn't, when I was scanning the agenda, I didn't see it.
Yep, that's a copy of that resolution. It is included in that resolution as well as several other things. And the State Board of Education stuff, all of that they recommended, all of that's in there. So. Travis will be with us in a minute, so a few minutes maybe, and I've not heard from any of the rest of them. Bruce just said that would be fine on the Thursday.
I need 2 more.
Mm-hmm. Well, technically workshops, you don't have to have quorum, but
No, but
it would be helpful because they won't know what's going on at the meeting.
that's right. We need it to be a hurry up meeting.
So. And I did, like I said, I did send that to Mr. Mahaffey. Mr. Sanders is signing in now. You did get emails on the trial budget?
I did. I hadn't had a chance.
Okay. Just gonna make sure Nathan had everything. Mr. Sanders,
Hey, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Fan.
did
Hello,
you did get an email today from Douglas on the trial budget and then the also on Miss Bonnie's safety?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. I did get both of those.
I'm just gonna make sure everybody got that. So
Yep, appreciate it.
Right now, Nathan, it's just me and you. Let's hope.
What?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Everybody else is able.
I've texted them, so
Yeah, and
I texted Brian twice. So
uh-oh.
you know, I don't know. He's Brian's on the move, literally. Travis will be here. He was coming across the hill, so he will be joining us momentarily. Mr. Pitts, what kind of hat do you have on there? I was trying to read it and you moved. He's having a look. Unmute there, Mr. Pitts. Hit that button. There you go.
Wayne Williams gave me that.
All right, it looks sharp.
He's on the trap team. Yeah,
Okay. Well, hey, that looks really good.
yeah. Nice of him. He's a great kid. Enjoyed having him 8th grade this year.
Is this the one that you?
It's the trial that don't have anything taken out much at all. But it shows you exactly where we probably need to trim from.
Oh, I've already got a good idea.
Me
what that
too.
is.
Me too, but
Is this?
I'm just saying this is
a
a
75-cent budget?
correct. Yes, sir. It's a 75-cent budget. The reality budget is coming, I'd say, or it will be on Monday and Tuesday. I would suggest workshops on those 2 days. You can do them either Zoom, you can do them Zoom, or you can do them. I know. I shook my head over it. I've looked at that a good percentage of this afternoon. Oh, that's Bonnie. She had to sneak in and sneak out.
Yes. Well, you want to go ahead and get started? I can roll with Nathan.
Okay, well, we can see. I don't know about Travis. He said he would be in just a few minutes. So,
Everybody kind of needs to be here.
hey, Bonnie. See you, Bonnie.
Y'all want to head out?
Hey, Bonnie.
Early
You got
on
it. You got a few
Thursday.
seconds, or you want me to present the safety? I mean, the school report. You want to do that first? Okay. Okay, I asked to delegate it, so there. We could get it over with. Bonnie's got a scholarship meeting tonight, so she is having to leave for that. I'm ready to roll if y'all.
Nathan, you ready to go? Just get started?
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead.
All right, let's get started. Approve the agenda. Everybody needs to read over that. If they got any questions, bring it up the next meeting. Consent agenda, item number 2. Approve minutes of April 9th, 2020 meeting of the board. Approve ELA textbook adoption list. I guess, Marcia, you got
Yeah,
something you want to say about that?
Marcia's on, and she can talk to in regard to the approval list, and she'll have that.
I can talk with Thursday night. So we can make a decision on K-5 and high school. They've made their selection. Our 6-8 team, they just want to bring the publishers in, their top ones that they're considering one more time, and ask them some questions, because the group doesn't have consensus. We can't go wrong with any of the curriculum that they are considering, but I really appreciate how much detail and work all the committees have done, but especially what this 6-8 group is doing, because the night we had the school improvement meeting, and we looked at data, and we looked at how well our 6-8 teachers were doing and students were doing across the county, that they feel a little pressure that they've been doing well to continue to do well. So,
Marcia, did you have a definite deadline set up, or did you
the
just?
State Department has extended that to June 15th. So I've told them that we can bring it to your June meeting. We won't submit we have to submit the whole report at one time. So I won't support the others, but if you'll go ahead and consider approving the other 2, then I can work on going ahead, at least for those other 2 groups, and get some orders together for those to hopefully come in this summer, and go ahead and get the professional development set up for those other 2 groups. So
it's just 6th and 8th that are not ready.
that's correct.
6th or 8th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
6th, 7th, and 8th grade, that team.
But Marcia, I didn't on the email. I don't have
Mr.
the
Curtis, can you hear
email.
me? I'm on now.
Yeah, we got you, Travis.
Okay, I'm on here now.
Hey, Bruce, got you, Bruce. We're just on item 1, so no big deal. Marcia, I need to get that email to the board. It's got the K-5 and the K through 5 and the high school. The email I've got is just you're asking for approval.
So I sent that to Douglas on Friday when he asked for all the agenda items. I assumed he had it
Did
in the
y'all get
packet.
that? Did the board members get that, or do we need to resend that? I just see that the only thing I've got on here, textbook adoption for board approval.
I've got 6 through 8 ELA adoption, which is discussing that they're not ready.
Okay.
And
You want me to resend it? And I can resend it with the update on it too then.
Why don't you do that, Marcia, and then I'll have that
Okay.
and make sure I'm copied on that, and I'll put that in my file for, along with that for
Okay.
Thursday night.
Alrighty.
I guess, Marcia, tell me a little bit about these, what K-5's done, and a little bit about the high school, if you don't care.
So as you know, we've been being told for a while how important this adoption is. We haven't had a reading series adoption now, I think in 7 years. We actually had an extension of a year, and the previous adoption that we had was not aligned well to the standards. So if you'll remember what we did last year, actually, let's go back a couple of years. Our 6-8 teachers began looking at some high quality materials called expeditionary learning. And they're still considering that one too. And that we think that's why when we looked at our data and said, hey, what are they doing? So that's why last year we implemented sort of a pilot and bought and made some manuals. Our instructional coaches really put that together and made those manuals and got the units together and working with instructional partners. And so we sort of piloted that. So we have some experience now, at least a year, on working with some high quality vetted materials. So with that said, going back to what K5 has chosen, they would like to do, the publisher is Amplify. It's called CKLA, and it has, the state is rolling out a foundational plus a foundational program for K1 and 2. And we really wanted what we were doing in our knowledge-based ELA curriculum to mirror what the state is rolling out. And so we really feel like that CKLA does a really good job of that. It keeps the integrity of the unit starters that we had in place with the Read to Be Ready work that we've done for 3 years now. So moving forward, we think that's really a good choice. High school had participated in a little bit of EL, but then last year really went back to doing some things with the old adoption, but making some modifications so it would match the standards a little bit better. And they had actually had a little growth with what they're doing too. So they really, even during this time, okay, there's Matthew. You asked him to bring it back, he did.
Oh, now we know where the dog's at. He left the dog.
Yes, Matthew has been working on the high school field, I guess, and he's just brought a piece of equipment back to our house, and so the dogs are letting us know that he's back with the equipment. They could probably steal something and they wouldn't bark, but bring it back and they're all over it. So the high school is going with Pearson, and I think part of what's helped them even make their decision, they sort of knew what they wanted from the first time the samples went out. But building off of what the social studies teachers did last year, it merges very well with Google Classrooms, and several of the high school teachers are using Google Classroom, and we've got a one-to-one at the high school. So they just felt like, whether if we had to extend what we're doing, if we had to start and stop again for whatever reason, that they were going to go with Pearson. So, and then once again, our high school, our state is just being very thorough, thinking, do they want to extend the K5 learning and go with the same publisher, or begin the work at the high school and go with Pearson and think about building up to high school. So there's valid points in everything that they're saying. One of the things they really want to go back though and look at with the publishers and ask those questions is questions that probably wouldn't have even been on their mind in February, but now that are on their mind, thinking about if we had to go into another phase like we are now and do some remote learning.
That's another question. It brings up another question that I have. If we go ahead and approve this, does everybody have all the materials? Everything's ready to go? We can get them pretty fast for next year, or?
So the answer to that is I can put those orders together. Usually what happens is Douglas, we sort of get the orders together, we get them PO'd, we get everything ready. I can write a contract with the publisher so that they'll go ahead and deliver some PD, and we have our first PD meeting with the publisher to see how to roll that out for K5 coming up Thursday, I think. And Stacy and I have already been working on a plan to have those. Normally what I do is I order them, and we have to wait until the schools open back up to have them delivered to the school so that we know somebody's there, because once the textbooks are delivered, they have to be inventoried, and Tennessee Book Company wants their money as soon as they've delivered them, and I would too because they've done their part. But if there's nobody at the school to inventory them. So Stacy and I have already decided we're going to use the room next to you and Mr. Curtis, and we're going to make that our book room temporarily and just have them delivered to the office, and that way we can inventory them. Teachers can come get their teacher materials and get an earlier start than having to wait till the last week of July. So yep, we're hoping we're on target to do that. We're actually going to see if we can start rolling out some professional development before school is out this year, while teachers are still on contract and thinking about how they could get familiar with their materials. They won't have their materials, but they'll have their sample materials. We've got to call into Pearson for the high school too to do the same thing. And Stephanie will help inventory those things.
Thank
A
you.
very, very expensive adoption. When I told Douglas about what we needed, he was like, whoa, you hadn't been joking.
I hadn't run into anything yet that wasn't very expensive.
Well, in the scheme of things, usually math and science are our highest ones, not reading. And they used to separate reading, and we only did K-5 reading in one year, and then we did 6-12 reading in another year. I've been doing this long enough that I've seen lots of different combinations of the way that they've done it. But and they know that it's going to be expensive. Before all this happened, the state was actually going to offer grants to help us offset the cost of the new materials. I don't know if that's still coming or not. If it does, of course, we will write those grants to help get some money back from those things, but they've sort of gone silent on that. So maybe they just don't have, with everything that's happened. But if that happens, we will write the grants to.
Do we have enough budgeted though for this adoption?
Marcia, on the budgeting on this, what was the figure? I know you can't be specific because of the case. I mean, 6 through 8 is not adopted, but what was the number?
Oh, but I figured theirs both ways, and thinking about what their prices really are about the same for the top 2 that they're discussing. But totally, just for the ELA, that's not replacing any books, or I haven't been told, Courtney, you're not starting a new course that I don't know about that'll need textbooks, right? So that sometimes takes me that can be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 if we have a new course that needs new books, but it's going to be in the neighborhood of about $300,000.
Well, that's nearly nearly double of what a normal adoption would, or from what is that subject?
In current years, the most expensive year I could get Douglas to look back was a little over 200. That may have been our math year or a science year, and we had a lot of tech books that went out that year. But like I said, that's not even buying our replacement books.
English and reading. It's really, and you consider English, ELA English and reading. So it's really a
Writing, spelling,
whammy.
grammar, writing, all of those rolled up into one. We used to buy separate grammar books and separate spelling books, and we used to buy every year some Saxton Phonics. That was our adopted series, so we won't be buying all of that this year. So,
All right, anybody got any questions for Marcia? Bruce, Nathan? Anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, nobody got any questions? All right, Marcia, I guess you're good.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
I'll be back Thursday if any questions bubble up.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3. Is Crystal here? Is she on?
Mr. Nichols, is Crystal available?
He is not available at the time. I can speak on it a little bit on this. Mr. Curtis, if I'm not mistaken, you are aware of the grant. It's a 15.
In fact, it came to me and I submitted it to you guys because it was CTE related. And Crystal and I have been working on it, so we're good. We're okay. It's a Farmers Grow Rural Education Grant. A farmer in the area has sponsored, have asked for us to do this. Correct, Mr. Nichols?
Yes, sir. And real quickly on that, it's a $15,000 grant. And with that, it's incorporating science and math into the agricultural curriculum. And like I said, it's just it's just free money that's out there that they're applying for right now. I'm trying to, as we're speaking right now, I'm trying to get a couple more details on that, but from what I'm understanding, it's basically they're just trying to combine the two, incorporate science and math with the agricultural curriculum. If you'll bear with me here, if awarded, it will provide funding for the fence in the pavilion plot to house animals on a short-term market basis to feed out and show, provide security from predators, dogs, and the public. Will also provide funding to box in a small section of the pavilion to provide a wintering area to feed and then close them during harsher months. So basically, it's just going to provide equipment and a fencing area so we could have actual livestock on campus there for just, for educational purposes also. So.
All right. Anybody got any questions? Nathan, Bruce?
This is a grant from the state.
Yes, sir. If I'm not mistaken, it is a
No.
grant from the state. It's a CE grant.
Now, this
Correct.
one's on the farmers, the American Farmers Grow Rural Education. Courtney, is that what? You're talking about the
I'm
$15,000?
sorry, Bruce. That one is, yes. She has another one that is from the state.
Yeah, that's the Perkins Reserve, but that's the we'll talk about that in a minute. But this one is a private grant from sponsored by the Bayer Fund, Bayer Fund. So some of y'all,
That's the 15,000.
yes, sir. I don't know who nominated us. It just said we'd been nominated. So
That's right. I don't
so
know if they-
local farmer. I know Jabin says he tried. So you may have succeeded.
I don't know if somebody else got it. I mean, I tried. You said that there's a lot of paperwork that goes back to the retailer. They have to pull all your records and turn it all in and stuff.
Gotcha. So somebody nominated us, and we were glad to get the nomination. So, but from the American Farmers Grow Rural Education Fund, and that's from AmericansFarmers.com. So we appreciate whoever nominated us to get
Need to
that.
find out what farmer doing that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We do. We do. I don't know if they'll tell us. So we'd love to find it out and get this done.
Absolutely. All right. Any more questions? No more questions. All right. Item number 4 is the Perkins Reserve Grant.
Uh,
Mr. Nichols, you want to talk on the Perkins Reserve? I think you have a little history with the Perkins Reserve there, Mr. Nichols.
A little bit. This is a $250,000 grant. 50,000 of that is going to provide industry certification for middle school as these kids are progressing towards a high school so that they can get industry certifications. The 200,000 portion of this is we'd be partnering with Warren County and with some of their classes that they have. We would only get a portion of that. We'd only get like 100,000 of that. I think we'd only get half of that. But it's just kind of expanding the opportunity for our students to have more programs of study and to incorporate more classes and stuff that we can have that wouldn't cost us as much. So.
And Crystal is working on, Mr. Nichols, and also the whole high school team has been working on partnership with TCAT and trying to get some stuff. And we knew with this grant opportunity, Warren County always gets them anyway. So we were, and that was a pun intended there, by the way. But we partner in with them and say, because they are at the at-risk list, they're on the at-risk list. So we're not. So it's nice to partner with an at-risk county that can, like I say, they're getting a lot of them anyway. So why not partner in? So Tracy, let's see, Tracy, what's her last name? Courtney
Nysinger.
Nysinger is the director there in Warren County, the vocational CTE director there, and she's partnered with Crystal. So I think it's a good partnership, and we could be very likely to get the Perkins Reserve. So that will be a win-win for us.
Absolutely.
All right. Any more questions on that? Bruce, Nathan? Nope. I'm all up for these grants. We can get this whole list could be grants. It'd be nice.
Are you waving, Audrey, or I think Audrey's waving.
Oh, okay, Audrey. Go ahead.
My grants are not listed there because I'm not done with them. I couldn't give you an amount. But we're working on a grant for the high school to do a co-teaching grant and 2 new position classes there at the high school that could be up to like $100,000 is what we're looking at. I'm not sure that it'll go quite to that amount, but I'm still waiting on a quote to come in on that. But we also had kind of thrown at us last Monday a technology grant, IDEA technology grant for the COVID-19. And I got that completed today, and we're close to 15,000 on that. So as to whether we'll get it or not, I don't know, but applications are in the process.
We already approved those, or?
Well, those are state grants that doesn't necessarily need board approval. These private grants do.
Okay.
But on these, like that grant, the turnaround on that technology grant was what, a week and a half, Audrey?
Yes, it was a quickie. They threw it on us Monday and it's due Friday, last Monday. So we got, I guess, 2 weeks.
And so on these grants, these are state grants that normally the board does not have to approve because they are state authorized. But these private grants do have to be authorized by the board, like the American Farmers. But
I just thought you'd want to know more funds might be coming. So
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else got anything on the grants? All right, item number 5. Consider graduation date change from May 15th to May 14th. Anybody got any comments or questions?
Mr. Nichols is ready. We are
Ready for any questions or comments that you may have.
Hey, and I may do this again Thursday, but I want to compliment Mr. Nichols or Courtney. That sounds funny calling you Mr. Nichols, but anyway, you know, y'all had a plan ready to go well ahead of time. And, you know, Rutherford County didn't. I love the idea. You know, yeah, it's a little different than tradition, and our kids are missing out on some things, but I love the idea. I know there's some opposition out there, and I'm not a keyboard cowboy, and hopefully I won't run into them, so we'll just put it that way. I just think that the opposition and the reasons for it is very silly. I'll put it nicely, but I think it's a great idea. It's going to be history in the making, and, you know, I'm looking forward to it, and I think it'll definitely be a graduation to remember. I know y'all have had a lot of hours put into it, and I haven't even heard all of it. I've just got what Mr. Curtis has shared with us, but I just want to say I appreciate it. I'm excited about it, and we're blessed to have the drive-in so close like we do, and, you know, let the naysayers go somewhere else and talk negative if they want to. So just ignore all them. That's my 2 cents.
Nathan, one thing, our mistakes, what we've done too is we have did a lot of partnerships with the community in helping this. And I think that's a win-win. Courtney's worked real hard. They've worked really, really hard. We've helped them with the PR on it. And it's just, to me, it's incredible. And we have offered, if anybody doesn't want to participate, Mr. Nichols has offered to mail the diploma to them. So correct, Mr. Nichols?
That is correct. They can come by school and pick it up if they choose not to participate.
And one of the things that we've done too is we work with the health department on this. Bonnie has been the liaison to the health department. They love the idea. Of course, you have to be very careful with them about when they come for the view. We call the preliminary run, when they come up and they have a group of parents with them and a group of family with them. We have made extraordinarily a lot of detail in regard to that. So Mr. Nichols and his staff has worked very, very hard. So on trying to keep people with social distancing. And you might want to tell them what you're thinking on the diplomas, Mr. Nichols, on that Thursday night.
Okay, so couple of the things, just kind of back up a little bit. We attempted to film last night, and we thought we had a window period. We had watched the weather all day. Unfortunately, we had a pop-up shower that come up that we were unable to do that. That caused us some people were upset with that because we made a last-minute call, but you know, it was also one of those deals that we didn't have a choice, basically. But we're going to film in on Thursday night. DTC is going to be down there. They're going to try to do everything that night. DTC is going to edit it they're giving each with a copy of the graduation ceremony after it's been edited. Also, we're going to on Thursday, next Thursday night, the 14th, we're going to have a parade where all the graduates come up to the high school. We're going to give our diplomas out before we actually go to the drive-in. We feel like that's going to be a better opportunity to do that. That's going to be safer on my staff. That's going to be safer on everybody. Then they can have the viewing, and then, you know, I guess the kids that want to participate in the parade, they can, and if they choose not to, they don't have to. So, but we feel like that's a better plan for us, and it's just safer for my staff to do it that way instead of handing them out at the drive-in.
And you know, kind of what we're looking at there is that's, you know, our job is over. They will be no longer students at Cannon County High School, and they are free to go at that point. So what we need from the board is just to change the date from, it's in the calendar and you've adopted the calendar as May 15th. We adopted and we moved that to May 14th. And the actual awarding of the diplomas will be on the 14th. On Thursday night, they will get the diploma cover. And so, correct, Courtney, anything else on that?
Correct. And I do apologize on why we're having to change the date, but the reason being behind that is that the drive-in, they're opening back up on May the 8th. And so Friday night is a business night for them. And so that's, you know, we were unable to get that venue. And so that was the reason why I'm requesting May 14th instead of May 15th. If it would have been available, then we would have continued on as planned for a quote unquote normal graduation. So, or especially the date. So I do apologize. I know it's short notice. If I would have known all of this would have hit, I would have put this on the April agenda and not in the May agenda. But who would have thought we would have made March 13th would have been our last day of school as far as in person. I'm not saying we're not instructing. I'm just saying that was the last day that we've seen them in person. Teachers are still working diligently at this point.
All right, Travis has joined in. We're on item number 5, Travis, talking about everything that's been done for our graduation. And you got any comments or anything? Nathan's already commented. It was all positive. Mr. Daniel's been quiet as always. He hasn't said a word.
Unmute Travis there, Brian. There's Travis.
I'm here.
You look, Travis looks official with that Tennessee seal behind him. Wow.
Yeah,
He's
feeling
official.
comfortable with that.
I have a Tennessee flag and the United States flag behind me. Yep. I think we even have the North Korean flag in here, Freddie.
Oh, wow. That's a history one right there. Hey, Courtney is, Mr. Nichols says the whole high school staff has really, and you know, last night we hated to call that, but you got a severe thunderstorm warning and thunder and lightning in the area, and we had to do that. But I commend the staff, Courtney's staff. Mr. Nichols, you might want to talk on that. Staff was tremendous there last night.
Yeah, we had my whole staff showed up last night to raring to go. We swooped in there right at the last minute, decorated the stage because like I said, the weather, we were monitoring that. We had it all decorated. We were set up. We were ready to go. And unfortunately, the rain kicked in there. So, but I can't thank my staff, any more than I have, because they are fabulous. They are just wonderful. And they have done a great job as far as planning and getting this organized.
Thank you. Tell your staff thank you. All right, anybody else got anything on item number 5?
Just real quick, I was going to say, Courtney, I'm sure you will, but pass that on to the staff because I know you couldn't do it without them, but you obviously had to lead them. But do pass that on to them for sure.
All right, guys. Item number 6. Consider the tree damage at Short Mountain School and any possible action. Mr. Curtis, do you want to explain the situation?
I can. I have sent the board pictures of this that occurred back in March. During that, we seem like we're having a thunderstorm every week. I mean, or once a week or sometimes twice a week. In the straight line wind deal, Nashville got hit really bad Sunday night. I mean, we had some damage here in the county Sunday night. Fortunately, no schools were damaged on this round, so we praise the Lord for that. But if you will look in your packets, I did send you an estimate from Goff's Tree Service. And this is Josh Goff, local businessman who runs this service. And he has estimated what happened. The top of one of those trees fell on a tiny house that is located right on the property edge. They put that tiny house right up next to the property line. And a top during during that storm that saw, let's see, Coach Daniels' house, Marcia's there, but Coach Daniels' house was damaged during that same line that came through the Short Mountain area. And Marcia, what was the date on that when that storm blew in? It was right there when y'all's house you had major damage there. Dr. Milton?
I'm thinking that was right about the time of spring break. I thought I had written it down. I think I've got it on the insurance thing, but I think it was during spring break.
But yeah, it was right during that time when we started the COVID mess. We had the storms move in. The next thing happened. But
May have been the 22nd because then I worked from home that first day on the 23rd.
So yeah, March the 22nd. So this has gotten some age on it, but here's what's happened. A top of one of those large pine trees that are probably 85 to 90 feet tall come off of the tree, the trunk, and then landed on this tiny house. And a branch did come through into the shower area of that tiny house. And what occurred, I was waiting on the insurance, and what the insurance has deemed that this is an act of God. And being an act of God means that, that we're not responsible for that. But that's an insurance agent's or an adjuster's deal. We're neighbors. And these folks are, the person that lives there is a former student of mine, but we're their neighbors, and so our property landed on theirs. And Mr. Goff said it would cost $750 to remove the top of the pine tree from the building, and to chip the brush and remove the wood, and to clean all of that up. So he's done that. Now, we did get an estimate because not only is that happening, but there are also trees, two large trees that were probably, again, 85, 90 feet tall that had blown over from, if the house is like, right here at the edge of the property line, which it is at the corner, then just due to the south, probably another, probably 30 yards away, two large pine trees are down on their property too. And he has given an estimate of including the removing of the top of the pine from the building, and to cut and remove those large trees that have fell over into that field, but also to top some of the trees and to cut down some of the remaining stumps that are still there. Several trees got their tops knocked out of them and have gone somewhere. And so he's given us a rough estimate to do everything at Short Mountain of $4,000. That is to trim up all those trees that have gotten the tops out of them, and to remove those, and then to remove the tree that's still onto the building, and to chip and brush and remove the wood. Fortunately, on Mr. Pitts's brand new fence, there was no damage to the fence because it blew it the other way. I am going to be talking to Middle Tennessee Electric after some of these storms diminish, so they're not so tied up, and to see about also at the north property line, there are some of those large trees, again, 85 to 90 feet tall, that are right there on the property line, that are right next door to a mobile home. it's fortunate that the angle of that wind was going another direction, going at an angle from that, or that tree would have toppled over onto that mobile home. So I'm hoping to see if Middle Tennessee Electric will help cost share there and get some of those moved, because if the northern wind were to come or northeastern wind would come, it would come over under their power lines. So they have taken some out, but others they need to take out. So hopefully I wasn't too long on that, Mr. Chairman. Travis he has had to leave, so he got a call, so he had to go.
How long have those structures been where they are? How long has the tiny home been there, and how long has the trailer been there?
Mr. Pitts could probably answer that. The dean could answer that better than I can, Mr. Chairman. So, Dean Pitts, how long has that trailer been there, and how long has the tiny house been there?
Well, I've been there 16 years, here 16 years. They were here when I came, so it's been a long time.
So even that tiny house was there that long, Robert?
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm a little conflicted on this. Rest of y'all, I want you to weigh in on it. Insurance will not pay for this because it was an act of God, they say. I think the trees were there a long time before they put their buildings there, but they are our trees and they did blow over on them. I honestly don't know. I really don't. Nathan, what do you got to say about it?
I'm right with you, Javen. And Mr. Curtis, you had a great email to us in, when this first came about, and I definitely don't discount that at all. This is going to sound bad, but guys, we know the budget situation. I mean, Mr. Curtis has been saying for a long time, trim it, cut it. And this is, I just think it's an extra expense that we're going to take on, and we just can't. And I'm like you, I'm like you, Mr. Fan. I'm torn. I don't know the family. I know what Mr. Curtis said, and everybody's in a hard time right now, and I hate it. But I don't have another option to offer. But since you asked for my comments, that's what I have to say. There's got to be another option. And I'm by no means saying anything negative. I was actually really hopeful, and I should have put this out there. Short Mountain, well, all of our communities are great, but I was actually really hopeful that the community would have come together and, helped this family and done something. I mean, if any community does, Short Mountain is the true example of that. So, but anymore, I don't really know who to go to start and talk. And, like Mr. Curtis has said already, our county and city and community partnerships have been great with us on graduation and other things. So it's a tough spot. I do hate to see us pay that money out, though. I really do.
I wouldn't feel as bad about maybe just getting it off her house, letting them do this, but doing all of this, taking all that other down and doing all that, that's a lot.
Exactly.
And I would like, if we did decide to do this or something were to happen with this, I would really like to have it in writing that if any other damages were done to that home, or if they did that we're not liable for that.
It's the tree service. That's why you get a tree service.
Well, I'm just, you go in there, you take it off, you clean it up, and they say something else was hurt or something was damaged, and then crap, you got to build them a new home. I'm serious when I'm saying this. I don't know them. They may be good people, and they may not have any. I don't know who. I don't know who it is.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Mr. Fan. If that's what the board decides to do, and this may not be the right thing, but my background and indemnity agreement, maybe.
Yeah,
consult Mr. Jennings or Mr. Cable Cagle, excuse me, the attorney, and have an indemnity agreement outside of the agreement with the tree company? Because I'm like you, Mr. Fan.
I absolutely hate that this happened, and
Yeah.
it's terrible. And like I said, it did come off of us, and it did land on their home, and I'd love to get it off of it, but cleaning all of there's a world of trees back there.
But
And if you took them all down, there's no telling away. But I can't. I don't know, Mr. Daniel, you still there?
Yeah,
What do you think about it?
it's $750 get the tree off the house.
Yes.
I understand. Man, all that other is extra work we're trying to do for prevention.
Yeah.
well, two of them though, are those big trees that are laying over in her field though too. It's
Yeah.
Harmon's field.
Somebody cut them up and make firewood out of them, or do
They
something.
can. I mean, that's on them. They can do what they want to with them.
Mr. Curtis, can I say something? Or Chairman,
That's the chairman. That's the chairman.
I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, may I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
We actually, my husband and I had this happen to us at the Lions Club. A tree fell there on our vehicle and totaled it. And it was considered an act of God, and we had to pay for it ourselves. So, I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, I hate it for them, but that's just how it is. If it was at your house and it fell on a vehicle or tore up something, your insurance is going to tell you that was an act of God. Whether you pay for it or not, that's out of your pocket. But
I will tell you that they do not have any insurance on their home. Right?
oh,
So I will tell the board members that's why they've asked us, because there's no insurance on the trailer there, plus the tiny house. There's no insurance there on that property.
Man. Mr. Daniel, do you have anything else you wanted to add to that? You started talking and you got kind of quiet again.
No, let me do a little thinking on that.
Under,
I will do a little thinking on that.
under what circumstances does the insurance cover a tree? If that's an act of God, I don't know what that means. When does insurance cover a tree?
Well, that's the lawyers for you there, Mr. Pitts, and the insurance company. They look at exactly what happened. The adjuster came out and he said, where's the property line? And we had an app. Taylor had an app on his phone so we could determine where the property line is. Because of that, the fence is pretty rusted out on that where that line's at.
Yeah.
But the trees are on us, and they did fall over on somebody else's property. So, but I can get with Mr. Jennings to do an indemnity agreement that they would sign. And then if you did desire that you wanted to take it off of the roof of the house.
I mean, I hate it for them. I really do. But I just don't see. I might try to do something about getting it off their house, but heck, you just can't. I mean, trees are everywhere. And
Mr.
that's the
Fan,
thing
can
with
I?
the insurance company. Go ahead, Nathan.
Sorry, I was just going to say I appreciate Ms. Black using that as an example. And it's like so many of these things, we run into these tough situations, and some families have a tough time, and I think this is one of those. I did just kind of glance at my own insurance policy to see, and then of course Mr. Curtis reminded us, and I believe that was in his email, that they didn't. But anyway, I was going to say, Mr. Curtis, I know you've not had any free time. I don't think anybody there has, but have you had a chance to, I don't know, have a conversation maybe with Mr. Pitts or the staff to see if they know of anyone? Or, I mean, that's a little bit of your community. You still maybe know a few there, maybe.
I've kind of racked my brain, Mr. Sanders, on the loggers that might provide a service for that family or anything, and I've just kind of come out empty on that. Mr. Pitts might can help us out on that part, but if you're asking my recommendation, I'd say take it off their house and get a reputable company, which Mr. Goff is. take it off of their house and then said, okay, we've done what we're going to do, period, and leave it at that. If that's the board so choosing, and they can, and loggers could come up there and that could be sold. I mean, they wanted to come in and do it, but finding somebody like that is, I don't know, Mr. Pitts, they're logging up the road there between up there by the Campbell property on up, toward the Haletown.
Jeff
on the
Young,
left.
yeah.
I don't know who's logging that. Do you know who's logging that?
Jeff Young, I think, yeah.
Well, we might got to contact Mr. Young and see if he could help out with removing the other two.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to.
I don't think Jeff would do the one on the house, but
I mean, this is a bad situation, and I do understand that it is our tree, but if insurance, I don't know. When you told me about it, I told you I'd have to spend a lot of time thinking about that.
I understand.
And I have, and I truly feel bad about it. I really, really do. But if insurance refuses to pay, it's a rough situation. I mean, you could have a golf ball size hail that breaks out your windshields, it does your roof. I mean, it's the.
I'm just glad that because Mr. Pitts will tell you that that trailer, the trees are like right here, and that trailer is just right there. If that had been the angle of that wind a little bit further south, that tree could have come down and split that trailer in two.
Yeah.
But it was, we were, fortunate that, and there's two other trees that are kind of leaning toward that tiny house, have been for years. And, it's a wonder those hadn't come down, but those are not as big as that other one was. So.
But if the owners of that house contacted a logger, they would get the money from it. If a logger agreed to cut those in logs, that family would get that money, right? It'd be their tree,
If
their
it's
money.
on their property, I don't
If it's
have.
their property, yeah.
Yeah.
So they could contact the logger themselves and try to make some money off of it. I don't know.
That's a good idea, Mr. Pitts.
Who is our insurance agent on this?
Tennessee Risk Management, Mr. Harold Henderson is who we dealt with, and they've got, a hired gun adjuster that met me up at, and Mr. Pitts and I up at the mountain, and looked over things. And we had several other claims, with Woodland, the traffic lights at Woodland, and some other things there at Woodland. Their air conditioning units were damaged too by hail during that storm system that moved through at Woodland. But their insurance agent is Tennessee Risk Management. Harold Henderson is the guy that that's our go-between during this thing.
Maybe we need to change agents.
Tennessee Risk Management's been pretty good about other things. Douglas is here online. He'll tell you that Tennessee Risk Management has been very good about most things.
Well, I will agree that the neighborly thing to do would be to help. But cleaning up all of those and doing all that, I just can't. I just can't go for that. And I want to make sure if we do agree, if the board does vote on this and we do it, that's all we've done is remove that tree. Anything that happens to that place prior or after, during any time, we're not responsible for that. And the insurance company's already said we're not responsible anyway, right?
That's correct.
I don't want, don't forget the saying, no good deed goes unpunished.
Understood. But, but there again, our property is laying on top of their roof is the way I looked at it. The others in the field, I think, is different because this, is their habitation.
All right, anybody else got anything they want to add to that at all? Say about it? Okay. Item number 7, approve a COVID-19 board resolution. 3 minutes. Mr. Curtis?
This is a catch-all, gentlemen, from TSBA. I took their boilerplate, and this is what they've recommended all boards in the state of Tennessee to do. Some have had special sessions to come in and do this, but on this one, I knew that this one was coming, so we decided to do this, and this will be retroactive back to March the 13th. It looks at grading. And also looks at, these are the State Board of Education met in special session on April the 23rd. There have been several other different executive orders by the governor. These deal with those, and what the State Board of Education passed. This did with this. It talks about grading system, graduation requirements, testing, no testing, evaluations are put on hold. Also, the reporting stuff about the licensure stuff has been put on hold. Attendance, we're still doing attendance like always. Students may not be penalized for non-attendance. Again, we're doing with grading policies here, and we'll be discussing that totally, but guess what? A student's grade cannot be lowered. March the 13th, anything that a student has done previous to that point can only increase the grade, and that is by the Tennessee Legislature and the State Board of Education. So that's just not my interpretation as the director. It is the State Board of Education and the Tennessee General Assembly that passed that anything that has been done during the COVID-19 can only increase a score. Mr. Nichols will tell you that many are diligently working at the high school to increase their scores to graduate, to pass.
Yeah, but you're just telling all these kids when you do that have a decent grade that they don't have to do anything and the grade's not going to go down, right?
But that's what the legislature said and the state board said. And so what you have to do there, Mr. Chairman, this just does
It's TSBA.
this is a TSBA deal that says this is our catch-all for COVID-19. And to suspend, what it does is suspend your policies that are in effect right now that have to do with deadlines and time limits and time frames and all of that. So what this does, this just takes that into effect, and TSBA recommends passage as soon as you can pass it. And I did come in and doctor it up a little bit on a couple of areas that, because some school systems don't have high schools. Well, we do. So that's what I took out, and this will be board resolution number 1.
This is going to hurt for a long time.
Amen to that. Our supervisors will tell you that this is not only one for the books, but it's one that can have repercussions on throughout. And we will no doubt in months to come be talking about this. And we're looking about startup. I'm not going to go on here and conjecture about starting up in the fall. Right now, we start on August the 5th. If anybody asks me, that's what we're going to do. But now, who would have thought when we went on spring break and my phone started blowing up? Well, I was at a Upper Cumberland directors meeting on Saturday really during the start of spring break on March the 14th. I was in Cookeville for a meeting of the Upper Cumberland because we were trying to get on the same page of what we were going to do, because everybody was saying it's a local decision. And then it became a state decision by 10 o'clock a.m. on spring break of Monday, March the 16th. And our lives all changed then, and they continue to change. The commissioner has webinars on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 1. The governor has daily briefings at 3 p.m. every day, unless he does it earlier in the day for some reason. And so all of our lives have changed. We are up now to 30, some ought to think 32 executive orders, maybe 33 or 4 now by now, that we have executive orders that we are under. So like I say, this is the emergency resolution suspension of board policies recommended by the Tennessee School Board Association. That was more than 3 minutes.
Well, I don't think there's anything any of us can add or take away from it. We pretty much have to, isn't it? That's what I thought. All right, item number 8, approved budget amendments number 6 and number 7. These are just grants, correct?
No, that was the last ones that y'all did that are going to the commission for Thursday. These are others, 2 others that have to do with some changes. And if you look at resolution number 6, teacher bonuses required by the differentiated pay plan were greater than anticipated. And that was the bonuses that we give every March. And so special education had some of those. And that's why you got to do it, because you got to move it from one line item to the other. If it's in the same category, 71,200, 188, it went from 70 to 71,200, 188 to 71,200, 399. Douglas, do you have anything to say on that? If you will unmute Douglas for me, Brian. You have anything on these budget amendments, Douglas? I know resolution 6 has to do with special education program. A
No,
bonus.
it's self-explanatory.
CTE was another one where you had the bonus come out of the bonus then and decreased out of state retirement. From one line item to another. So more of these to come, right, Douglas, between now and June 30th.
Absolutely.
But these are part of salaries that that had to come out. That line item changed because of the and bonus means is what the differentiated pay plan, if I can talk, differentiated pay plan has that they would receive. That's in resolution 6, and resolution 7 was in CTE. That was completed there on those 2.
I guess I'm being devil's advocate tonight, but what are other systems doing? How do we go about judging the bonuses since we didn't have a school year?
Well, that was a hot topic today. The chairman is asking about the bonuses in other systems. Some systems, they only give bonuses if the whole system makes a certain score. And everybody would get the bonus that is a certified teacher within that school district. Other districts do it like us. Jackson County does it like us, and Jackson County and director and I are getting together right there. And my question was, if you don't have LOE or level of effectiveness, then are you still obligated to do those bonuses? And that's the question I've asked the State Department, and they pretty well said more guidance to come, but most of them say you just have to do the same thing you did last year. And Marcia can probably speak on that. We had a conversation with the State Department in regard to differentiated pay plans last week with the people that are over that on what we have done in the past.
But we have no way of judging this year.
That's correct.
I mean, you're just.
But you still are in policy unless you change the policy, and that's also a negotiated deal with the CZEA as part of that MOU. Marcia, you still there? I think she may have had to check out. Dr. Melton, okay, I don't see her there. Unmute and see. Dr. Melton, are you there?
I'm back.
Okay, we're talking about differentiated pay plans. We're talking about the bonuses that were mentioned here in the resolution 6 and 7. And the chairman brought up about the bonuses for this next year, FY 2021, since we didn't have LOE. Are we obligated to do the bonuses? And technically, I brought that up with the directors, and some of them said, you probably are because of your policy, but that's the director. We'll get more guidance from the State Department on that.
We can get more guidance, and we're within the state guidelines because that's not the only differentiated pay we pay. We have the others as far as teacher leaders and things like that. You know, when we talked to Ms. Brown and Ms. Moore about differentiated pay as far as the State Department is covered. But if there's no LOE, then how can we pay a bonus based on nothing?
That's
my argument, but the counter argument is in your policy that you'll have to go by last year's, and whoever got it last year gets it this year.
That's not in our policy that I am aware of, is it?
Well, I mean, the LOE is in the policy that we do that, you know, and some would argue that would be the case, that would.
What policy is it in? I'll do some research
We'll
on
have
it.
to we'll have to look at that on bonuses. It's in the policy, differentiated pay plan. But we'll research that a little bit more for you, Mr. Chairman, this is an issue that's going to come up, not just now, but it'll be coming, and I know it's part of the budget process that we could save that money. So that's been my argument all day.
Yeah, Mr. Curtis, just as you said, again, I know all y'all are busy, but I believe you're right when you say that that's in the policy, or maybe it's in the MOU, but it's in there somewhere. So definitely need some research on that.
I agree that it's probably in there. What I don't, if there's not one to pay, if you don't have an LOE.
Well, yes, and I agree with that too. That's why I say I want to see, you know, is it policy? Is it the MOU? And then what's the exact wording? And then, you know, as it's been said, you know, if there's not a LOE to base it on, then, you know,
Because the same thing, Mr. Curtis brought it up, that, you know, tenure is based on LOE. If we don't have an LOE, then we won't have anybody eligible for tenure next year, because that's part of the tenure, and we have probably about 5 that will be eligible.
There's where we get a waiver. That's where you get the waiver from the State Department that will be. I'll be talking about waivers at the next board meeting. Certainly, we're going to have to probably apply for about 3 different waivers with the State Department as part of this resolution that you will pass on Thursday.
And that's another great example. But I too would like to get a little more guidance from the state and then other systems is what they're doing, because, you know, granted, everyone has worked hard, and I've heard many say that they do wish that our traditional school was back in session. I should to say it correctly, because that job is easier than what they're having to do now. But as you said, Mr. Curtis, they're stepping up and doing it. So, you know, I don't want to come across as saying, you know, there's nobody out there that deserves it, because that's not the question. But it's about doing the right thing, considering where we are in our budget, and, you know, giving the right amount based on something, because, you know, who knows how long this is going to go on. And unfortunately, you know, there'll be another similar act of God, if you will, or pandemic. And, you know, we need to make sure all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed before we make any consideration. That's just me speaking for myself. So with that, I'll hush.
All right, anybody got anything else they'd like to add to that? Travis is gone. Mr. Daniel, you still with us? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you there. What do you think about that?
Let Freddie get back to us on that.
Well, I'll just give y'all my black and white issue with that. Most of the teachers that get bonuses usually always get them. Sometimes one of them probably slips up or whatever, but you've got some younger teachers that are coming along that are really doing a good job, and they're not even going to have a shot at it. And you're just, I don't think doing something just like you did last year is necessarily the right thing to do, because we don't have a clue what everybody does, what everybody did. I'm not against it, but that's kind of a conscience vote there. You're just repeating something based on a maybe a faith. Maybe they did what they were supposed to do. Here, I'm going to reward you. I don't know what you did, but I'm going to give you the money anyway. You know, that's like a parent raising a spoiled child, in my opinion. I know that's a blunt example, but that's to me, that's what it looks like.
Chairman Fan, that's a great way to sum it up. I said I would hush, so I promise.
I don't know how else to put it. I don't know who deserves a bonus and who doesn't in this situation.
And I think that's something that the board needs to look at that in months to come, certainly. And anything you do there, you'll have to enter in back with the MOU with the CCEA and negotiate and collaborative conference that issue. And that's something we've looked at, that we've talked about internally with the supervisors in regard to, schools that are doing, that are really, and teachers that are really, really busting it and getting it done. That's who you reward.
Absolutely.
And other systems have faced the same challenge. And probably we are multiple systems, but because of the budget situation with COVID-19, are asking the same thing. If we didn't get LOE, well, how do you reward LOE if we didn't have it? That's my argument with the state. And so, like they say, more to come on that.
I more than duly want everyone who earned it to get it, but I don't have a way to know who did and who didn't. That's another drawback to the situation. All right, we spent enough time on that. Y'all think about that. I'm sure it'll get interesting. Item number 9, Lisa Black will address the board concerning the ESP program and the signs on the buses. Lisa?
Yes, sir. Okay, so our ESP program, I think the last time we talked, we were going to try to run that program this summer and let our parents put in some money, and then we were going to get some people to help us make up the difference. Well, since COVID, we're not going to do that. We're going to just be targeting 10 students from each of the schools that really need some extra assistance. And we've asked the principals to give us those numbers, and we'll just be running on what money we have left in those 2 programs. And then as far as the signs on the buses, they're just ready for us to give them the go-ahead, but I wanted to make sure that where we're at on transportation before we go to doing all that. That's really all I got.
All right.
So nothing really to vote on, just more updates.
And ESP too, Lisa, while you're on the topic of that, you explain a little bit about how that you're thinking that's going to look this summer.
Sure. So we're hoping to do a couple of different things. One is take the Reading Safari bus and use it as a classroom, go out to the kids' homes or wherever the parents could meet us, and us offer some instruction that way with just one-on-one type situation. We do have some guidance from the LEAPS group and the 21st Century on what we need to do to make that doable. Also, we'll be doing Zoom with some of the other students so that we can practice one-on-one stuff with them. We have the capabilities of taking also one of the, or if not both, of the little small Reading Safari little buses, which have the wheelchair ramps room in the back, and putting a table so that the kids can get back there and work one-on-one as well. So we're going to just try to contact parents. I think some parents will be receptive to it, and I think some others will probably be like, no, we're good. But we did ask for the principals not to give us like students that are failing, because they're going to be repeating that grade anyway. But if you're going to move on and this time out of school plus the summer slide is going to affect them, we want to target those kids and try to help as much as we can.
Okay, on the ESP program, that grant that's given out, surely they're not going to hold you to stipulations and ridicule you for.
Oh, no, they're not. They're being very cooperative, telling us what we can do, how to clean, what we need to do, and just to keep it to, well, they're saying less than 5. So we're hoping if, there's a family of 2 or 3 that we can work, maybe even set a card table up outside the bus and work with some. We have internet access on that bus, so, and just really try to get out there and use it as best we can.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Review policy 6.4 through 6.710. Student related, Mr. Curtis.
This is a continued policy review that we have. 6.400 student welfare, 6.500 individual students needs, that blanket there, that group there. Student records, 6.600, and then 6.600 So some of these were changed when your policy, stuff that you did earlier this year, a few of them there, particularly in that first batch, dealing with student welfare. But just again, routine policy renewal, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody got any questions
A
on that?
review.
Yeah. All right, item number 11, consider the 2020-2021 general purpose budget, 10 minutes. I'll let you talk.
All right, board members, Douglas and I have been crunching numbers as directed by the chairman, and we've been crunching some numbers. What you see is the green tab, the general purpose budget. You will see in the green, we said green. I don't know, Douglas chose green. You might want to ask him why we did green, but it is one of those, maybe it's a good sign of good luck or whatever in this budget. If you look at this one, there are a lot of variables in here. Commission wants something by May 15th. They do want something. So Chairman asked me to prepare a 0.75 budget. You can see this budget, and there are multiple variables about this budget. And why not, let me tell you about the variables, because if you look at the actual, there's no column for actual 2019-2020 because this year is not over. So we believe, and you look at that, every line needs to be looked at on expenditures, because we're still estimated to go in the hole considerably. And that's estimates. We've left all of teachers in all programs, all teachers, everything intact. And we did a 2% raise because we talked to, Douglas talked with Marianne Dursky earlier today, and we can get, a figure coming out. The State Board of Education will not approve salaries until May 29. So it's tough to do a budget based on what you think, but this is the latest guidance from the State Department of Education Financial Division with Marianne Dursky, doing with local finance. And so there it is. We put it in there as a 2% raise. We also put 2% raises in for non-certified personnel. Now, this does not include the food service budget nor the federal budget. So these does not include any of those. That will come later. And those are always, Douglas can tell you, and Jennifer, they were always the federal side, and the federal special education side is supposed to be a wash. What you spend is what you get. And you spend that out. The same thing on the food service is actually, Jennifer is here, so she may want to talk about this for a second or two about the food service budget. Jennifer, now you've been incredibly busy, but would you talk about your budget right now, which is not in the GP? Would you talk about your budget?
Food service differs from federal as is federal dollars, but ours is based on revenue. So as you can tell, we've not been in school, but we have had the COVID-19 meetings, which has been great for our budget because we've been able to still have revenue coming into our budget. It has cost us more to feed this way. So we're just going to have to end and see, how our revenues play out at the end, what that lets us look like to start the year, because we still have to start the year, and then see how the CARES Act plays into our budget, because that's just really up in the air. We just don't have a lot of guidance on that yet. Mine is revenue based, so I never know what that's going to look like from month to month. We had a really good month in April for COVID-19. We actually fed more kids than we normally do, so that was good for us. Thank you.
And so we reached Jennifer, your staff. I think the board needs to understand that your staff fed at not this meeting today, Monday, but the one on the previous Monday, we went over 10,000 meals were served in a less than an hour period. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Yes, sir, that is. And that was a personal goal for myself and our department. We wanted to feed 10,000 meals, and we did that. So it's just like Mr. Curtis said, it's just a well-oiled machine at this point. The principals are great. They have a system. The staff has a system. They've supported us throughout this and stepped up and just worked with us. It has been such a team effort, and we appreciate it so much. I do think that Monday we did not feed as many, probably because people are going back to work. So Lisa and I are looking at ways to reach kids where they are, which may be at their home. So we have a plan, and we're working on that, because we're going to do everything in our power to reach these kids and feed them during this time. So it just made it a little different.
One thing too, Jennifer, that the board may want to know about the food service deal is in regard to summer feeding, and your thoughts about a possible summer feeding as we move through the month of May of trying to help people in the summer.
So USDA has given us a waiver to feed in a non-congregate setting for the month through June 30th. So that means we can still give multiple days worth of meals out, 1 day a week or 2 days a week, whatever we decide. And we can do that without summer feeding guidelines to the site. Is that me?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It was Bruce. Go ahead, Jennifer.
So, but the USDA has given us a waiver that says they don't have to do that. We can still hand the meals out to the parents through just a drive-up situation. We've asked the State Department to extend that waiver throughout the summer. We'll see how that goes. But we were to have one location in Woodbury during the summer. But Lisa will help. I will work with Lisa on her ESP program that we will have sites on her mobile classroom type situation going out. So we will reach hopefully kids in that way through ESP. Me and her work together on most programs that we have. She knows what kids we need to reach, and she's great to get them what they need. So we'll probably do that at Woodbury Grammar. I'm not opposed to principals' ideas to do it different, but that's just probably with staffing going to be my best bet to have that there. Brandy's our manager at Woodbury Grammar is familiar with it. She does an awesome job there at that site, feeding lots of kids throughout the community in the summer.
So long story short, if we do the summer feeding, it will be only at Woodbury Grammar, and people have to drive into Woodbury Grammar to be participants in that.
Yes, sir.
And maybe some remote feeding will, but we did ascertain that yes, CARES Act money can be utilized as part of food service. So we can utilize foods and CARES Act right now. None of this budget has any indication. Okay, before I move on, anything more, Mr. Chairman, about food service?
No.
We good? Thank you for allowing me to do that update on food service. And so that and federal will be separate. Just like you receive separate reports on federal. What this is GP. And we do not know. We do know that we will receive somewhere around $371,000 for on the federal side for this. So federal side will be on this side there'll be some money that'll be coming in on the CARES Act that we can utilize. And you know what happens with federal funds, there's always federal strings attached to that and the way that they want it spent. They've been very, very fluid about this though, the state, so which is good. Eve Carney, I know some of you board members know Eve, and Eve is over the federal side on the CARES Act, and there'll be a window for us to get that in, about a 2-week window in June that we'll submit that. And Ms. Mullins will certainly be involved in that, as well as all staff will be involved in seeing how we're going to spend those funds. But a word of advice, and Douglas will echo that, I think, is that it's supplement, not supplant. You can't use it for money that you've already got designated and to supplant what you're doing with local and state funds. You can't do that. You've got to supplement. This is all supplemental. One of the things I will tell you is that the county is also going to be receiving money from the federal government too. You don't call it stimulus, whatever you want to call it, or from the state. And we've been asked, the county commission has asked us in regard what we would do with that. And we've had indications from board members and others that the $30,000 we're still needing to repair a bus, but if we pair in what we've got in somewhere in the neighborhood of $50-some-odd thousand that we received from the insurance settlement on the bus that was totaled, we take that $50,000 and then get an additional $30,000 or whatever in that neighborhood. It's in the upper 50s, so you get another additional $30,000. You can get a school bus, a brand new school bus for the price of a used one for 30 grand, which is a great deal in my opinion. And then you turn right around, and I've asked the commission, should we receive another $90,000 out of that, somewhere around $600,000? Then if we could get another bus that we've got in this budget, $90,000 in this budget, then we could take that $90,000 out of this budget, which would be great if the commission would do that. So of course that's conditional on the commission and how that money is to be spent. We get $600,000 extra in the county. This building is probably number one on priority for the commission. And then the second thing would be other projects. And so I have talked to the county executive about that. And hopefully if we could get that, that'd be another $90,000 that we get 2 buses for 120, which is to me a great deal. So that money's not reflected in this budget at all. No COVID-19 extra dollars are reflected in this budget because we don't know. We just don't. So there you can see the bottom lines there. We've got some trimming to do. This is just a trial balloon budget, this trial thing that we just got to putting figures together and looking at that. And there's every line probably needs to be looked at closely.
How much are we supposed to have in ending balance and reserve at the end of the year?
Douglas, you'll chime in on this one. Looking at ending balance, what should fund balance be? What should reserves be? There is a legal set amount on reserves. And the goal is certainly is 5%. There's certain tests that this budget will have to meet by the State Department of Education and the comptroller, right? Right, Douglas, both of them?
Yes.
So it's got to meet those tests that this budget would have to meet with the comptroller and also with the education.
The State Department would not approve this budget. Guarantee you they wouldn't. And the commission shouldn't, not a budget like that, and I don't think they would. So you've got serious cuts to make. They're cuts that you have to decide on and tell me what you want cut. And you may have to get creative in your thinking.
$3,875,803 in 2017-2018. 2018-2019, $2,209,114. 2018-2019 actual was a little better.
What page are you on, Mr.
I'm on page 7 of 7.
Okay.
It was $2,319,843. The budget estimate ending for 2019-2020 is $623,981. Now, by my recollection, that is just slightly under what we're supposed to have at the end of the year. Douglas, is that correct? Isn't it supposed to be around 650,000?
Well, the budget you got was approved by the state.
Correct, but it was supposed to be, and then if you look at the estimate on the 2021 budget, that's only was $6,954.
That's right. That's why you got to make cuts like $1 million. So you got your work cut out for you.
the 75-cent budget.
Correct.
We're gonna get a 68.5-cent
And
budget.
so we'll, my suggestion, Mr. Chairman, is budget workshops on Monday and Tuesday. If you want to send them a 75-cent budget that looks better than $6,954 at the bottom line there, and you're going to have to.
Now, the bright side of this might be that you are probably going to get an insurance settlement on the Woodbury Grammar School roof. That's a few $100,000. That could help you, but the check has not arrived yet, so we hadn't counted our chickens before they hatched. Also, we're going to be down in some expenditures such as bus fuel, and utilities are not as much. That's going to help this year. But you still are on a collision course to spend more money than you take in. That's been going on for a few years, and I guess the time has come, it's got to stop. I did talk to Brian Runyon, our state fiscal consultant, and asked him, did he have any words of wisdom? And he said the same thing I've said: personnel is your biggest expenditure, and that's where I would start.
I got two other board members listening. Bruce, Nathan.
Well, what I see here, we estimated in 2018 and 19 to go in 1666. We only went in 555,000. Back up there to 2017 and 18, we only went in the reserves 20,000. So 1,695,000. How close to that is to right then? You only went in 30% last year. Did I read that right? Yeah, 1.6. And the actual was 550, about 30% of it.
Time will tell.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're going backwards at a steady pace anyway.
Douglas, we won't know really the full actual story that you could put the actual 2019, 2020 until what, June the 30th at the earliest.
Be after,
probably into August at the least.
June 30th.
Yeah, the August is probably the best estimate on that for the actual, on what we're going to have. But we do know it's going to be more because of less, fuel has been curtailed, and so is the utilities are going to be way down too. So we know that that's going to create more than what's there. That 1,695, that ain't gonna be $1 million though. But I'm just saying it's going to be less. So we're hoping, and again, we'd have to look at that. I've looked after the fact, but we're hoping that we should be somewhere between $600,000-$700,000 in the hole instead of 1.6. But then again, we can't say that until we don't actually know the actualities instead of just the guesses. Correct, Douglas? Would you say
We don't
that?
know exactly what teacher salaries are. I just moved everybody up one step on the scale and then added 2% per the instruction of the State Department. But this is not what we know. The State Board of Education will not meet until May the 29th, and it'll be sometime after that we'll be able to develop the real teacher scale and then redo the teacher line items. Insurance is going up, I think 3%. We don't know about the board liability insurance yet. It hasn't come due. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but we've had two pretty good claims. So you can think about what insurance companies do when you have big claims.
Douglas, when you say insurance is going up 3%, are you talking about the health insurance for our employees?
Yes.
That's an additional 3%.
Right. And then that's something that's really hard to plan for because we're hiring new teachers all the time or new aides or whatever, and people are leaving, and somebody may come in and take a more expensive insurance plan than the person that had the job before, and that's just something you can't do much about. So it's up to y'all as to what cuts are made.
The bare minimum is going for those.
Guys, just for me, you know, this one is so preliminary. We can't make them under the county across the street understand that, you know, May 15th is not a reasonable deadline. You know, there's definitely serious conversations to be had. But, you know, this is so preliminary right now. We have to do this every year. You know, I think we just have to honor their request and get them something by the 15th and then get serious, trimming the fat, you know, as we get closer. And as Douglas said, once we get more numbers, especially on our salary, once we figure out about the bonuses. But we are just so many variables right now that we really can't make an educated, informed decision. And we always run into this since they've wanted it early for the last couple of years. But, you know, that's just my 2 cents.
I've been asked about it by the finance director and the county executive. They have been made me aware of that multiple times about May 15th.
Yeah, I mean, and I just think we're spinning our wheels, you know, on a lot of unknowns. They need an idea of what the school system's going to ask for. And, you know, I think that's not a thing. I mean, that's what they need. That's what they've always asked. And they're just never going to, as you've said, they've made it clear they're never going to understand that May 15th is not a true budget. It's just like Douglas said in his email to us. It's a very preliminary budget and it's got to have a lot of work. And, you know, he's added some more variables to it. And, you know, we've got a lot more variables still yet to come. So I think we just need to decide, you know, what do we want our starting number to be that we're going to ask for to give them an idea. And, you know, in our workshops, you know, spend more time there outside of a regular meeting, figuring out what the best course of action.
You're going to get 68.5 or whatever the bare minimum
Hey,
is.
well, I wasn't going to go there now, but you're right. We're going to get 68.5. We know that. So, I mean, again, we're spinning our wheels right now, but that's just my 2 cents. I mean, all this has to be said and action has to be taken, but, you know, right now we just need to give the commission an idea of what we're going to ask for because they don't understand it any other way.
It's pretty disheartening, but anyway, all right. Do y'all want to try to plan something? Now, I can't make any guarantees. Once this weather breaks, guys, I'm booked, and I'm telling you that. But we need to try to get a couple of these workshops in so we can sit here and talk about what we're going to have to ask. I hate to use those words, but those are actual. This is going to happen. Do y'all have any ideas when you would not want to, when you can meet? Because we're going to have to get this done. Nathan, your schedule allow? When?
You know, it kind of depends. Tuesday is a tough night. but I can make it work. Wednesday would be the only definite no for me.
Bruce,
I'm good next week.
you're good next week.
Yeah.
Y'all may have to hash it out and give me a call and let me know what you're thinking about. I can't say that I can be there. Like I said, I can't pinpoint my schedule at all. Once it dries up, I'm done for a while. But we need to try to plan something.
Douglas, did you say we would have some salary numbers by the 29th?
No, that's the day the State Board of Education meets. Sometime
Okay.
after that's when they'll send us the minimum salary schedule.
Okay.
It'll be after that date.
And two guys, we should have the May BEP numbers. We're operating off of the April BEP estimate.
Mm-hmm.
We will have the May numbers. What would you think, Douglas, sometime about the time school's out, about May 22nd?
They're supposed to get it to us pretty quick, something I read today, but that doesn't always mean they're going to.
Well, that's what I'm
They're going
saying.
off last year's numbers,
What's that?
though. They're going after last year's numbers, aren't they?
Pretty well.
Yeah, because you can't.
I mean, the ADMs, if you look at the ADMs, same as last year's. So even if we'd had improvements, they're probably going to use last year's numbers anyway. Is that what you've heard, Douglas, in your discussions about ADM?
I hadn't heard anything about the ADM.
Okay, but ADMs in the April estimate, they just ignore this year's what they do and go by last year's. So even if we gained or we've lost, I don't know. I mean, Lisa could probably tell me, somewhere in that neighborhood that we can have.
I think we're gonna have about, 1897, something like that. That's what they're gonna give us again. What'd they give us last year?
1879, you
Yeah.
transpose some numbers there, 1879.
Yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do. I got an email too today that said they were gonna probably give that same amount and that we should be getting something in the next week or two is what I got. I can forward you that email, Mr. Curtis.
Okay. Well, they're just guessing just like what we are. I mean, they're doing the same thing we are.
See if you can
Next Monday's good. Next Monday's good for me.
send everybody out and see when.
It would appear to me you've got two board members that you need to get in the link on this too. They're not there tonight.
We're talking about that, Douglas. Thank you. Just to get a hold of everybody and see when they can do it.
All right, just say if they can come Monday and Tuesday next week.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do it right now.
Yeah. Douglas, can you're gonna do this by phone or you're gonna do this?
I'll text everybody right now.
See when they, because I might be able to communicate, I don't know that I have a good enough link wherever I'm at I might be able to talk as long as I don't have to get out and nothing breaks down.
And I'm had this conversation multiple times, but I'm just saying the guidance you want me to give you in regarding numbers. I'm assuming you want numbers. You want numbers of attendance. You want numbers throughout the system in regard to not just attendance but class sizes, and you want numbers in regarding programs. Is what I'm hearing from the board. Is that every line item has a story, as I like to say. I'm having a district leadership meeting in the morning at 8:30. One of the things that we will certainly be discussing is that, and I will get principals' recommendations that I can also bring back to the board for if we meet on Monday or Tuesday. So I'm sending out right now via text about availability.
All right, guys, let's move on to the safety report. I've had enough doom and doom for a few minutes. We need to get together though really fast.
Okay, I'm trying, oh, you ready for the safety report, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I think everybody, didn't everybody get an email on this?
We did, I did, send it out to all, I say principals, all board members. And this, Bonnie, is out because of, she's got a scholarship meeting tonight she's dealing with. So the school safety report update, provide toolkit to all principals on safety and food distribution sites, what was done in May, that's very important. Taking temperatures of staff and making sure that, and you're asking those health questions recommended by the CDC in regard to COVID-19, and staff are wearing masks. All masks are being done. I was at several sites on Monday, and glad to see the masks are being utilized, as well as they're doing the safety in regard to COVID-19. The safety assessments will start in May. That's what the SRO, where Ms. Bonnie goes around with the SROs and does safety assessments in regard to the safety grant. Participate in bi-weekly webinars with Department of Ed School Safety Division. It's like everybody else. Everybody's got these individual departments that are doing webinars, and we've about webinared to death on some things. So everybody's working hard there, and Bonnie itself getting with the Department of Education School Safety. By the way, we partnered with the EMA, with the local Cannon County Emergency Management Agency, and we've been working with them on certain things, like we were needing masks, needing paper, needing plastic bags for our feeding. And Roy Sullivan with Cannon County EMA worked with us about getting some of those things that are needed during COVID-19. So kudos to that. And Bonnie heard some things through the Division of Safety, Department of Education Safety, School Safety Division, to get that information. Next year, should receive the same Safe Schools allocation or something similar as last year. We are really focusing in doing radios on school buses, radios with emergency backup power at each school location. They have communication with their buses. Cell service, as y'all well know, the topography here in Cannon County is really challenging for cell service. And radios, Sheriff Department's already battled that, and we'll be partnering with the E911 personnel, with Roy Sullivan again, and working with them on and utilizing some of their towers and some of their resources that we can utilize to get our radios on buses and at every school, and including central office. So they get it to a position where we need to radio everybody. We can do that all at once, and then have communication. Cell phone service goes out, and right before that tornadic event in March, cell service was not existent in Cannon County on Verizon, and so we were really booking it, and very fortunate something didn't happen there, but utilizing his backup equipment. We received AED equipment for the high school, Auburn, and the central office. So those will be disseminated, particularly at Auburn in the gym, in the high school, down at the football area, and then here at central office. One will be installed, and we'll have to have the training on how to operate here at the central office. That'll be fun. Completing the health services survey, and we're doing that. Our nurses are doing that currently, and then returning medicines. That's been a challenge at some schools, but we're working on that and getting medicine returned to those individual parents of their students. Also, community resource cards, they were a big hit. And these were cards that were given out at meal distribution. It gives resources that people can utilize here in Cannon County that may need it. So Bonnie's really been running ahead on that, and doing a great job. But that's been really, principals and others will tell you that's a very good thing about resources that people that are in need can have and get. So that is the school safety update for May 2020.
All right, Mr. Curtis, I've sat here about long enough, but it's your turn.
Oh, we still got most everybody still with us, Mr. Chairman. So,
Well, we'll see about that.
you know, good evening to all. We've been working very hard, across the system, and this is Teacher Appreciation Week. So, if you've board members, I would strongly suggest, you know, telling teachers how much you appreciate them, and how much that they work, you know, working hard during the COVID-19. I sent out an email earlier this week. And the very first thing I did this week is tell our teachers we appreciate them and thank them for the hard work that they're doing during COVID-19. And you've got some great teachers, and so I would suggest that. We may have to go into executive session, board members, at some point in regarding the lawsuit. So our attorney is Mr. Ken Williams in Cookeville, and this is a public forum, so we may have to wait and do this at a later time in an executive session in regarding that. This thing is very, very paperwork intensive. I will put it that way. Very document centered. And so we may get Ken on the line with you one day and tell you what we're ended up having to do. But this is very, very time intensive, and meaning my time intensive and others. So that is, we're working on that diligently. I told him I was going to have to pull off this and work on budget a little bit, but so hopefully tomorrow I can look at doing some things on that after the DLM. But between webinars and briefings and all of that, it's hard to get everything in. So we're working very hard to do that. But executive session could be in the future. We'll tell you that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, except appreciate all of our staff and everybody working really hard.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Very good job.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. Well, actually 3 weeks, but
Brief, 2 point. I'm impressed.
precise.
Thank everybody for showing up. Mr. Nichols, you need to really thank your staff for everything you've done. If you're still there, I don't see your picture anymore. The high
Thank you.
school and everybody that's everybody that's done everything to try to get these seniors a decent graduation and a thoughtful graduation. I think it's something that's extremely special. I think there'll be something that can be remembered for a long time. It's filmed. They'll always get that's impressive. What you've done, it's impressive. I appreciate it. A lot of hard work. Everybody try to stay COVID free. Try to get out a little bit, keep going nuts. Let's try to get through this. Board members, we've got quite a bit of discussion to do. This is going to be interesting. Few days. Let's try to send the commission something that they can look at and decipher. I don't know how we tell them how dire it is, but I know they're probably not going to raise taxes. They don't want to be like Nashville, and it's just not going to happen. I don't want my taxes raised. We've got some problems here. We've had them for a few years. This is a mess. We're getting less and less income, more and more costs. That's a problem. Isn't it, Douglas? All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you Thursday.
We're doing it at 5 o'clock, Thursday
Yeah,
night.
I forgot to say that you've got everything taken care of.
Everything has been taken care of, Bruce. Nathan, 5 p.m. on. Thank you for doing that. They're doing that taping because of the weather situation that happened on Monday night, and it was Thursday. By the way, the county commission is meeting at 5:30, and they're considering. I will be talking to the chairman, and I'm asking Mr. Fan also to talk to Chairman Greg Mitchell and explain that we've had to do this because of graduation, and we had to move our board meeting up a week because of graduation to get out of that way. But one of the things that we will ask them to do, those are the budget resolutions that are over at the commission now are grants. There may be some people over there vote against grants, but if they do, so be it. But these are grants that we received. There shouldn't be a whole lot in questioning about the grants. This is free money. We got it. So, but you never know what they're going to question you out over there, right, Douglas? You never know what they're going to question you about. But I'm going to talk to the chairman and Mr. Mitchell and tell Greg that that's all it is, and that nobody's going to be over there. That we need those passed. So, like I say, the routine budget amendments is what they are with grants, free money, good money. But yeah, 5 o'clock on Thursday, and I'm texting everybody right now. Remember, texting everybody right this moment.
Gonna do it by Zoom or like this again?
Yes, sir. It'll be through Zoom unless you want to come. I guess if you wanted to come to the room here, it would be appropriate as long as we continue to social distance.
Do you want us to try to hash something out to send to the commission? Because we're not gonna have a board meeting until the next.
Well, you can have, if you have to do a special call, or you can recess your meeting until, and name a time when you can deal with the budget. I mean, and you have one done, but next week's full. I mean, you got the Wednesday night, Nathan can't come, and then the 14th, you got the graduation taking place at the drive-in.
Now I would think about trying to have a special call meeting next week.
And then, but you can get a budget that you can say, okay, this is what you wanted, you got it. You can't do that. See what you get,
Yeah. Well, I think that's easy. I hate it. All right, guys, I'm gonna go off in the corner and bleep a few minutes. I'll see y'all later.
See y'all. And we can do an executive session via Zoom.